Hey, hey, hey. Change. It's a zigzag. Can you believe that? For years, it seems that people believed, and the experts said, that change always took place in a very orderly way, in stages. Stage A, followed by stage B, followed by stage C, followed by stage D, whatever. Newsflash, that's not true. It's not true for me. It's not true for you. It's not true for any of us. The simple truth is life is not linear. And when big changes happen, we really develop our own stages and we go through them at our own paces. Sometimes we do well and sometimes we don't do so well. So, how can we do it well? That's really what this channel is all about. We're all learning on the job. So, how can we do it better? Um, Before we go any further, might I just remind you to press that little like button. Really important that you like this, subscribe to the channel so you know when others are coming up. Share it with friends who are going through change who can join us. And more than anything else, comment, 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 comment. Your comments are the lifeblood of everything that we are doing. Okay, with that in mind, I want to give you 4 keys that I think you'll find helpful for change. I'm working on these keys right now myself. And the fourth one, I think you'll find to be kind of a surprise. So stay tuned. What are things we need to deal with as we change? Well, first, and by the way, these are not necessarily in order. I just happen to put them down this way. The first thing is don't worry about stages. Now, for years, people thought it was A, B, C, D, follow this sequential order. That's not true. And it could be because Kubler-Ross's thoughts in Death and Dying that she wrote in the 60s was so dominant. She wrote that book for terminal patients that they would go through denial and then anger and then bargaining and then depression and finally acceptance. And that came to be just kind of an accepted thing for change. So people would go through grief following those stages and were advised, okay, oh, I think you're in the anger stage now. Oh, I think you're in the bargaining stage now. Not so much. But it was so dominant that actually it came to sort of move into all kinds of areas. So that when William Bridges years ago wrote the book Transitions, he became kind of the organizational transition guru, organizational change guru. He essentially overlaid her template on change, organizational change, although he reduced it to 3 stages. And for him, it was ending, and then it was neutral zone, and then it was new beginning. Well, people thought, okay, that's what happens. We have to end where we were with our last CEO and last way of doing things. And now we're in this neutral zone trying to figure out what next. And now we get into the new beginning. Well, here recently, Bruce Feiler wrote a great book, Life is in the Transitions. And he just, in a nice way, throws all that out. Says life is not linear. There the 3 things that Bridges said. There are lots to be commended about that. He just happens to list 3 different things. He calls it the long goodbye instead of an ending, which seems kind of abrupt. The long goodbye. Then he calls it the messy middle instead of the neutral zone. And I got to say, I relate to messy middle far more than I do to neutral zone. And then he agrees with new beginning. But you might be in all 3 of those simultaneously. You might still be saying goodbye to what was. You might be thinking about what will be while you're in this mess right now, just trying to deal with it. Now, to me, that's reality. The bottom line is change has happened. Now what? The job is no longer. The spouse, the friend, the child, we're not going to be able to share life with them anymore. Whatever the big change happens to be, it has happened, and we are going to respond as we respond. So let's not get too hung up about changes. First thing, don't worry about changes. The second thing is be self-aware in this process. Continue to ask yourself questions about yourself. How am I doing? How am I maintaining my health and my nutrition and my sleep and all these things during this period of time? How am I dealing with relationships? Oftentimes, for instance, in grief, when you lose somebody, like I just did with my wife, it's very common for people to pull back from relationships. It's common for people to get fearful and just change, and all kinds of things go on. You need to be self-aware. How in the world am I doing? So you keep taking a pulse check on yourself. You need to be self-aware of the fact that that door really has closed. It really has shut. It's welded up. That part of life, the way it was, is over. What that means is, as you're self-aware, don't carry guilt about it, or regret. It's so easy for all of us to do the coulda, woulda, shoulda thing. Well, we didn't. It didn't roll out that way. You weren't there when this happened. The job didn't develop the way that you wanted it to, on and on. But what was, and you realize that you can't have a better past. The past is the past. You can't change it. What you can do, however, is learn from it. And that's what you do when you're self-aware. I ask myself these questions when I'm in some situation. I think to myself, okay, what would Betty say here if we were talking? What would she do in this situation? I learn from that. And by the way, as you're self-aware, it's okay to grieve. You should. It's healthy. We all do it. I mean, a loss is a loss, whatever it is, whether it's a job or a bank account, a spouse, a child. A loss is a loss. That's a very big deal. And we grieve, we mourn, we're sad in the process. We cry, it happens. Grief comes, grief goes. Go with the flow. It's really okay. Yesterday, I had to run into Walmart to get something, and I was going back to the hardware section. And oh my goodness, it's 3 o'clock. It's time for Betty's snack. And then it hit me. I don't do that anymore. Wow. And I was sad. That's okay. That's a part of the process. That's okay. You're self-aware. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's everything good about that. It's healthy to go through that process. Go with the flow. Don't worry about the stages. Be self-aware. The third thing is keep moving forward inch by inch, just a little bit at a time. You could say millimeter by millimeter if you're on the metric system, but a little bit. Don't worry about taking, massive steps. Okay, I finished that and I'm in the messy middle and now I'm going in the new beginning. Don't make rash decisions. I've always told people across the years, when you have a loss, for instance, you lose a spouse, you lose a career or whatever, don't make a rash decision, a big decision too quickly. I say wait for a year. Why is that? Because it's too easy to be controlled by emotion. And you're not going to be happy about the outcome. So don't just go there in the first place. Just be content with moving ahead a little bit at a time, And in this process, start thinking about what does forward even look like for me. When I was a kid, we had these things called magic slates. Maybe they did when you were growing up. You lifted up this piece of paper and whatever you'd drawn on it, would just go away and then you started again. Well, in a sense, that's where we are. We're drawing a new picture. It's a different chapter. We've learned a ton. We bring a lot of things with us, but it's a new chapter now. And we're just going to slowly get our footing here, slowly move forward. This is where it becomes terrifically important to listen to the Lord and to listen to your heart and lean into, okay, not in your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, he will direct your paths. What passion has he built in your heart? It's a new day, so where are you going to go? How is this all going to work? And as you listen to the Lord, it will come into focus. Finally, fourth, and this is the one that may come as a surprise to you, have a gratitude sandwich every day. Start your day with gratitude, end your day with gratitude. You know, before you even get out of bed, think of one thing you're thankful for. I am so thankful that dog crawled up on the bed and snuggled up to me at 4 o'clock in the morning when I was getting cold, and suddenly, I got this warmth. Be grateful for that little thing. At the end of the day, what's something you could be grateful for in this day? So you start your day with gratitude, you have a gratitude sandwich. Now, what happens over time is you rewire your brain so that you begin to have a much more joyful perception of life. You're not drowning in sorrow. You're not drowning in sadness. As a matter of fact, you're realizing, okay, well, wow, there really are some good things going on every day. And it literally, the scientists tell us, it literally does rewire our brains. That's a very good thing. Gratitude becomes a foundation for joy. So you want to make sure and build that life on gratitude. Yes, change is a zigzag, but as you keep moving on the switchbacks, going a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further every day, ultimately you, I, all of us are going to get where we want to go. Now, next time, we're going to talk about flexibility. When it comes to change, that is a very good thing.